Marcus and Sarah thought they had completely won the retirement game until a single Tuesday afternoon phone call shattered their entire reality. They had spent 35 years working demanding corporate jobs, living modestly, and building an ironclad $1.2 million portfolio inside their index funds. They were on track to retire early at age 60, completely secure. But within 24 months of hitting their peak earning years, their household dynamic fractured from both sides simultaneously. Marcus's father suffered a catastrophic health decline, requiring immediate assisted living care that cost $6,000 a month. His small retirement pension only covered half that amount, leaving a massive $3,000 monthly deficit. In the exact same week, their 24-year-old daughter graduated college with a low-paying entry-level job and heavy debt, completely unable to afford rent. She packed up her things and moved right back into their home, bringing a massive monthly cash flow drag for food, car payments, and minimum debt balances. Marcus and Sarah were suddenly trapped. Smash the like button and subscribe right now so your portfolio survives this exact same hidden wealth crisis. This devastating economic phenomenon is known as the sandwich generation crisis, and it is hitting millions of 40-somethings right now. Everyday investors are watching their peak compounding. Years get systematically destroyed because they are being pulled vertically in two completely opposite financial directions at once. Upward, they are forced to fund the skyrocketing healthcare and long-term care costs of aging parents who outlived their savings. Downward, they are subsidizing the living expenses, rent, and student loans of adult children who are struggling to launch in a hostile economy. The middle is the exact location where your retirement security goes to die. The traditional financial industry treats retirement planning like a completely insulated vacuum. They show you static projection models, assuming your nuclear household only has to account for your own bills. They assume your extended family members will never face an emergency or require massive, unbudgeted capital injections. But the real-world demographic data paints a drastically different picture for peak savers. When these dual family pressures strike your household simultaneously, the default human reaction is to step in and solve the problem with capital. You quietly begin filling both structural income gaps out of deep emotional obligation. You swipe your personal credit card to cover a parent's medical prescription or helper costs. You cover the down payment or co-sign a lease on an apartment so your child can move closer to a job opportunity. You write a check to cover a semester of tuition or help pay down a high-interest student loan balance. You tell yourself that these are just temporary family emergencies. You convince yourself that it is a short-term patch and that you will make up for the savings deficit next year. But as the months roll on, these unbudgeted family subsidies slowly morph into permanent, recurring monthly fixed overhead commitments. This is the exact moment your lifetime retirement wealth engine permanently stalls out. Think about how compounding velocity actually functions during your peak earning years. Your late 40s and early 50s are your most critical financial decades. This is the brief window where your salary is at its absolute highest and your personal portfolio requires maximum fuel to cross the retirement finish line. Every single dollar diverted away from your investments during this high-earning window carries a massive opportunity cost. Because of the lost time value of money, $1,000 sacrificed today to bail out a family member does not just cost you $1,000. It costs you $10,000 of future protected capital in retirement. You are not just spending cash, you are actively liquidating your own future freedom. The psychological driver behind this crisis is deep emotional guilt, which leads directly to structural behavioral paralysis. How do you look your own aging mother in the eye and tell her she cannot afford the quality of care she needs? How do you tell your own child that they must struggle through a financial crisis entirely on their own without your backing? To protect the people you love, you make the ultimate sacrifice. You compromise your own financial survival. It feels like a noble, loving, and completely necessary choice in the short term. But when you look at the raw numbers, it reveals itself as a catastrophic multi-generational wealth execution strategy. By bleeding your assets dry to solve today's family issues, you are setting yourself up to become a massive financial burden to your children in the future. You are actively passing the exact same crushing sandwich trap down to the next generation. To break this cycle, you must implement strict operational boundary lines and treat your retirement portfolio like an active defense zone. There are clear mathematical methods to handle this dual family drain without abandoning your loved ones or draining your principal base. The first major strategic adjustment is establishing an absolute family financial audit. You cannot manage a crisis based on guesswork and emotional reactions. You must sit down and map out every single dollar flowing out of your accounts into the households of your parents and children. Most investors are completely blind to how quickly small, random subsidies add up over a 12-month period. Buying groceries, covering insurance premiums, paying cell phone bills, and gifting cash allocations create a massive structural leak. You need hard data to separate essential emergency needs from standard lifestyle expectations. This audit gives you the baseline framework required to transition from reactive bailing to structured, predictable family resource allocation. The second adjustment is the aggressive optimization of government and institutional benefits for your aging parents before using your personal capital. Millions of families drain their own savings to pay for elder care simply because they do not know how to navigate the complex web of public resources. You must conduct a thorough review of your parents' eligibility for programs like Medicaid, long-term care insurance, veterans benefits, and localized state assistance. This requires working closely with an elder law attorney or a specialized geriatric care manager. Your goal must be to maximize every single external dollar available to fund their healthcare infrastructure. Your personal savings should only act as a secondary, highly controlled backstop, never the primary funding source for elder care. The third adjustment is transitioning your adult children from financial dependence to an accountability-driven launch plan. Subsidizing an adult child without a clear timeline does not help them. It permanently cripples their economic development while compromising your retirement baseline. If you must provide shelter or financial assistance to your children, it must be bound by tight, non-negotiable structural conditions. Establish a written agreement outlining exactly how long the assistance will last, what milestones they must hit, and how they will contribute to the household infrastructure. This completely removes emotional manipulation from the equation and reintroduces economic reality into their lives. Let's return to Marcus and Sarah to see how this plays out in real time. They had two choices in how to react to this dual vertical liability. Let's look at scenario A, where they react purely out of emotional obligation and family compliance. They immediately take over the $3,000 monthly elder care deficit for Marcus's father out of their active income, completely halting their own portfolio contributions. Next, they absorb their daughter's living costs and write a $10,000 check to wipe out her immediate high-interest credit card debt. Within 3 years, Marcus and Sarah have not only failed to add a single dollar to their retirement nest egg during their peak earning years, but they have also been forced to pull $50,000 as directly from their principal to cover expanding medical emergencies. Their portfolio value stalls out, their retirement timeline is delayed by a full decade, and the constant friction leaves them living in a state of high psychological stress and resentment. Now let's look at scenario B, where Marcus and Sarah apply a dynamic, insulated family baseline strategy. The moment the dual crisis strikes, they refuse to make emotional capital injections. Instead, they activate an immediate family audit and hire an elder law specialist. They discover that by restructuring his asset holdings, Marcus's father qualifies for state-subsidized veteran assistance, reducing the family care deficit from $3,000 to just $800 a month. Next, they sit down with their daughter and establish a strict, condition-based launch protocol. She is welcomed back home, but she is required to get a secondary side job and allocate exactly 70% of her active income toward her debt under their direct supervision. Marcus and Sarah cap their maximum family subsidy at exactly $1,000 a month, allowing them to keep contributing their remaining surplus directly into their equity engine. By year 4, the market experiences a powerful upswing because Marcus and Sarah kept their core portfolio fuel intact. Their underlying investments participate fully in the growth, hitting a healthy new high. Their father's care is stable. Their daughter has completely paid off her consumer debt and successfully transitioned into her own apartment, and their core retirement wealth engine remains completely uncompromised. They navigated a profound family crisis without locking in permanent wealth destruction. They didn't survive by guessing where the market was going. They survived because their structural design prioritized the permanent protection of their retirement capital base. The difference in these outcomes has nothing to do with how much Marcus and Sarah loved their family. Both scenarios featured the exact same parents, the exact same daughter, and the exact same financial crises. The difference was entirely determined by their behavioral mechanics and their willingness to execute boundaries. One outcome treated family support like an open-ended reactive blank check. The other treated it like a structured living system that requires active defense lines. The hidden cost of aging parents and dependencies within the sandwich generation can be measured through clear financial leaks. Let's explore the hidden expenses that slowly drain your peak compounding years without your knowledge. Many people believe that elder care costs are restricted to medical facilities and insurance deductibles. But the real friction lies in the hundreds of microtransactions that slip through the cracks of your monthly checking account. It is the cost of gas for endless trips to medical centers, specialized groceries for restrictive dietary needs, modifying a home bathroom for safety, and hiring specialized transportation. These expenses do not present themselves as a single large bill that alarms you. They appear as small $20, $50, or $100 transaction entries that slip quietly underneath your standard budgeting radar lines. Over a single year, these unmonitored baseline leakages can easily compound into $12,000 of vanished investment fuel. The exact same stealth mechanism functions when you are subsidizing an adult child who has failed to build financial traction. You are no longer paying for high school sports or teenage clothing allowances, but the modern financial dynamic is far more expensive. It takes the form of keeping them on your family mobile data plan, paying their auto insurance premiums to get a lower rate, covering their streaming platform accounts, and buying their groceries whenever they visit. Many parents justify this by convincing themselves that these small bills do not hurt their overall household net worth position. They believe that as long as they can save money from their main paycheck, these tiny peripheral subsidies do not matter. But this mindset completely ignores the long-term mathematical reality of lost compounding efficiency in your index funds. When you allow your cash flow to be chipped away from both sides, you are systematically lowering the baseline capacity of your automated investment systems. If you are forced to lower your monthly portfolio contribution by just $500 during your peak 5 earning years, the trailing destruction is massive. At an 8% average market return over 20 years, that small monthly reduction costs your household over $300,000 of terminal wealth. You are trading your long-term psychological independence in retirement just to remove short-term emotional tension within your extended family network. This is a losing trade on every single spreadsheet matrix ever built. To fix these underlying leaks, you must establish what financial planners call an ironclad family capital bucket structure. This means separating your personal survival portfolio from your family assistance fund with hard structural firewalls. You must determine the absolute maximum dollar amount you can safely gift to family members each year without reducing your portfolio baseline index fund contributions. Once that assistance threshold is calculated, you deposit that exact cash sum into a dedicated secondary account, completely separate from your core funds. When a family member asks for help, the money comes strictly from that isolated assistance bucket. If that bucket hits a zero balance, the financial support ceases immediately until the next calendar year begins. This simple operational barrier completely eliminates emotional decision-making from your personal finances, and protects your core principle from manipulation. Furthermore, breaking free from the sandwich generation crisis requires an aggressive shift in how you communicate about money with your extended family. Complacency and complete silence are the primary fuels that accelerate this retirement disaster. Most aging parents do not want to become an economic anchor around the necks of their working children, but they hide their financial shortfalls out of deep shame and vulnerability. You must force open a direct, transparent conversation about their estate planning documents, cash flow, debt, and long-term care insurance policies while they are still healthy. Waiting until a major stroke or cognitive decline occurs to locate their financial paperwork is an absolute recipe for emergency capital destruction. You must act as a proactive project coordinator for their retirement infrastructure. Mapping out their assets before a medical event forces your hand. The exact same transparent standard must be applied to your relationship with your adult children. You need to transition your mindset from being an open-ended emergency bank to acting as an objective financial mentor. If your child requires housing assistance or debt relief, you must demand full visibility into their monthly bank statements and tracking apps. If they are unwilling to show you exactly how they spend their own income, they do not qualify for a single dollar of your hard-earned capital. True economic support means equipping them with the behavioral skills required to balance a budget and build a surplus, not shielding them from the natural consequences of overspending. You must love them enough to let them experience the temporary discomfort of financial scarcity so they can build true economic resilience. Let's examine how the concept of sequence of returns risk applies directly to the sandwich generation dynamic during your peak earning window. Most long-term investment models operate on the assumption that you will contribute an equal, steady stream of cash into the market every year until the day you stop working. But if a dual family care crisis forces you to completely cut your investment contributions to zero for a 3-year period, the timing of those zero contribution years dictates your ultimate wealth destination. If those zero contribution years happen to occur right at the beginning of a massive market bull run,